I think other people seem to sparkle when they're in love, and I like to see that. But for me, it's like I sparkle when I'm not in love, which is kind of okay.
In this video, Karoline Leavitt, a rising conservative voice, directly challenges Whoopi Goldberg's defense of wokeness on the popular talk show The View. The conversation begins as a simple disagreement, but quickly escalates into a much more intense exchange, highlighting deeper cultural divides over what wokeness truly represents. Leavitt confronts Goldberg after Goldberg criticizes her stance on wokeness, a term often used to describe heightened awareness of social injustices, particularly related to race, gender, and identity. Leavitt's main argument centers on the idea that wokeness, while originally intended to create positive societal changes, has shifted in its application. She claims that wokeness has transformed into something much more divisive. Instead of fostering open-mindedness and inclusivity, Leavitt believes it has become a tool for ideological conformity, forcing people to either accept a single viewpoint or face ostracism. This belief is particularly noticeable in her criticism of the media and the entertainment industry, where dissenting voices, especially those with conservative beliefs, are often marginalized. She stresses that the media's portrayal of wokeness has led to a culture where individuals feel pressured to conform, even at the cost of silencing alternative viewpoints. In her exchange with Whoopi, Leavitt questions the consistency of wokeness, pointing out that those who claim to champion diversity of thought often do not apply this principle to conservative viewpoints. Instead, they selectively promote voices that align with their own values, effectively excluding or mocking those who challenge the dominant narrative. Leavitt's challenge is clear. If wokeness truly stands for inclusivity and progress, why is it that those with differing views are treated with disdain rather than being welcomed into the conversation? Leavitt's bold stance against Goldberg's defense of wokeness highlights a growing frustration with how the term is used and perceived, opening the door to further discussions on the implications of ideological conformity in today's media landscape. In the video, Karoline Leavitt critiques the concept of wokeness, particularly how it is increasingly used to silence opposing viewpoints. Leavitt argues that what was once intended as a movement for social justice and awareness has now evolved into something that creates division rather than fostering unity. She believes that wokeness, in its modern application, has shifted from being a tool for positive societal change to a method of enforcing ideological conformity. According to Leavitt, rather than encouraging open dialogue and understanding, it has become a means by which people are pressured to align with a narrow set of beliefs, often leading to the exclusion of those who challenge the dominant narrative. One of Leavitt's main criticisms is that wokeness has been used to create an environment where individuals fear speaking out against the prevailing ideas. In this context, people may feel that if they voice an opinion that deviates from the accepted norms, they risk facing backlash, alienation, or even professional consequences. This is especially true in areas like the media, education, and corporate settings, where there is a noticeable trend of individuals losing opportunities or being marginalized simply because their views do not align with the mainstream woke ideology.
Those are two of the aspects of the woke mind virus that I think are very dangerous. Is that it's often anti-meritocratic. You can't question things. Even the questioning is bad.
Leavitt points out that this dynamic undermines the very essence of inclusivity, as it excludes anyone who does not conform to a specific set of beliefs. Leavitt's concern is that wokeness, instead of being a force for inclusivity, has become a tool of ideological policing. By defining what is considered acceptable and what is not, it limits the space for honest, open conversations and stifles diversity of thought. Rather than creating an environment where a wide range of perspectives can be heard, wokeness has resulted in a culture where people are more concerned about adhering to a prescribed set of ideas than engaging in meaningful dialogue. This, Leavitt argues, contributes to further division in society rather than bridging the gap between differing viewpoints. In the video, Whoopi Goldberg passionately defends the concept of wokeness, arguing that it is a force for positive societal change, particularly in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. According to Goldberg, wokeness has played a crucial role in addressing historical inequalities and ensuring that marginalized groups are given the opportunities and recognition they deserve. She asserts that the push for wokeness is not about silencing opposing views, but about correcting long-standing injustices that have often gone unchallenged. For Goldberg, wokeness is a necessary social evolution, a movement that acknowledges the past and works toward a more inclusive future. Goldberg further emphasizes that wokeness is about ensuring equal opportunities for all individuals regardless of their background or identity. She believes that the benefits of wokeness are evident in the progress that society has made in terms of representation, particularly for women and minorities. In this sense, wokeness is portrayed as an ongoing effort to level the playing field and to make sure that everyone has a fair chance to succeed, especially those who have historically been left out or oppressed. However, Goldberg dismisses criticisms of wokeness from conservative voices, suggesting that those who oppose it are simply uncomfortable with change or are resistant to progress. She argues that these critics misrepresent the movement, portraying it as an oppressive force rather than a liberating one. According to Goldberg, the real issue is not with wokeness itself, but with the discomfort some individuals feel when confronted with the idea of societal progress that challenges the status quo. She believes that those who push back against wokeness are clinging to outdated beliefs and fear the societal shifts that are taking place. While Goldberg's defense of wokeness is rooted in the idea of achieving justice and equality, her position is met with resistance, particularly from individuals like Karoline Leavitt, who argue that wokeness has, in some cases, become a tool for silencing diverse perspectives rather than encouraging open, inclusive conversations. Despite the clash of viewpoints, Goldberg's stance reinforces her belief that wokeness is not just a passing trend, but an essential part of social progress. In the video, Karoline Leavitt critiques Whoopi Goldberg's stance on wokeness.
You were suspended for. Do you regret that?
I'm in a quandary at how to answer that because people are waiting for me to say something. I said what I had to say. They suspended me. I respected what they said. I respected everybody's opinion.
Pointing out what she sees as contradictions in Goldberg's arguments and the broader application of wokeness. Leavitt specifically challenges the idea that wokeness is about inclusivity, questioning how it can truly represent diversity of thought when conservative women, in particular, are often dismissed or ridiculed for their beliefs. She highlights a troubling pattern in which individuals with conservative viewpoints are frequently belittled, their opinions devalued, and their presence on platforms like The View minimized or ignored. According to Leavitt, this selective application of wokeness undermines its supposed goal of embracing diverse perspectives. Leavitt's criticism is not just directed at Goldberg's individual defense of wokeness, but also at how wokeness is portrayed and applied by mainstream media and popular culture. She questions why conservative women, like herself, are treated with disdain despite the supposed commitment to inclusivity. If wokeness is truly about diversity in all its forms, Leavitt argues, then it should encompass a variety of political beliefs, ideologies, and worldviews. However, Leavitt observes that the prevailing narrative often disregards conservative voices, choosing instead to elevate certain ideologies while sidelining others. This, she argues, creates a false sense of inclusivity where only specific types of diversity, namely those that align with liberal viewpoints, are celebrated. Leavitt's point is not just an attack on Goldberg, but a broader critique of how wokeness has come to be interpreted and applied in today's social and media landscape. She believes that while the initial aim of wokeness might have been to address inequalities, its evolution has led to a more narrow, less inclusive version of diversity. In her view, true inclusivity should allow space for all kinds of ideas, even those that challenge the status quo. By failing to do so, wokeness risks becoming a tool of ideological exclusion rather than the progressive force it claims to be. In the video, the disagreement between Karoline Leavitt and Whoopi Goldberg escalates from a simple difference of opinion into a much more intense and heated exchange. What begins as a discussion about wokeness quickly evolves into a confrontation about broader cultural and ideological divides. Leavitt, known for her conservative stance, directly challenges Goldberg's defense of wokeness, questioning its application and impact on society. This transformation from a routine segment into a heated debate underscores the emotional intensity surrounding the issue of wokeness and its role in modern politics and social discourse. Leavitt's challenge to Goldberg's views on wokeness forces Goldberg to defend her position more vigorously, and the tension on set becomes palpable. While Goldberg argues that wokeness is necessary for social progress and equality, Leavitt counters by highlighting the contradictions in Goldberg's stance, particularly in relation to the media and how it treats people with differing viewpoints. Leavitt criticizes the media and the entertainment industry for promoting one-sided narratives and stifling dissenting voices. She argues that wokeness, instead of fostering inclusivity and openness, has led to the silencing of conservative voices, making it difficult for people with opposing perspectives to engage in meaningful dialogue.
Because that loss, as bad as the loss was for me, for him, it was beyond.
You said he never really got over your
No,
mom's death.
no, and I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did. We had such a good time.
As the debate intensifies, both sides become more entrenched in their positions, with Leavitt accusing Goldberg and others of using wokeness as a tool to shut down any form of disagreement. Goldberg, on the other hand, insists that wokeness is about ensuring equal opportunities and correcting past wrongs. This clash highlights not only the deep ideological divide between the two, but also the larger cultural battle over the meaning and implications of wokeness in today's society. The heated nature of the exchange reflects the growing frustration many people feel regarding the way wokeness has evolved. It demonstrates how discussions that start as simple debates can quickly spiral into intense confrontations when deeply held beliefs are challenged. The video captures the escalating tension as both Leavitt and Goldberg passionately defend their respective views, illustrating the complex and often contentious nature of the wokeness debate. In the video, Karoline Leavitt uses her platform to criticize what she sees as the wasteful allocation of funds by various institutions and organizations, connecting this to her broader argument about the misuse of resources in the name of social justice. Leavitt brings up a list of specific examples where government funds have been directed toward initiatives she deems unnecessary or overly extravagant. These examples include millions of dollars being spent on projects such as funding tourism or producing shows in foreign countries, as well as expenditures aimed at addressing issues she believes do not align with the immediate needs of society. Leavitt's point is that these expenditures are indicative of misplaced priorities, especially when she feels that domestic concerns, such as economic stability and addressing issues within the country, should take precedence. She argues that these instances highlight a broader pattern of wasteful spending that could have been better utilized elsewhere, particularly in areas that would directly benefit the American people. Her frustration stems from the perception that funds are being funneled into projects that have little to no tangible impact on the immediate problems facing the country, particularly for those struggling with economic hardship or societal inequality. By highlighting these examples, Leavitt aims to question the effectiveness of current policies and practices, suggesting that resources are being used in a way that is not in the best interest of the people they are meant to serve. She also uses these instances to draw a comparison between what she views as the media's focus on wokeness and the more practical everyday issues that need attention. For Leavitt, these misallocations reflect a disconnect between the ideals espoused by certain political groups and the reality of how resources are actually being spent. Ultimately, Leavitt's criticism underscores her belief that the focus on wokeness has diverted attention away from more pressing matters, contributing to a culture of mismanagement and inefficiency in how public funds are utilized. This criticism highlights her desire for a more practical to governance and resource allocation, one that directly addresses the needs and concerns of the citizens rather than being distracted by what she views as excessive and misguided expenditures.